What's going on, motherfuckers? Welcome to the Crocs and Hot Pockets show. My name is Knackers, and today is December 23rd, 2018, and this is episode number 81. This episode is a 1v1 episode, and today our guest is the man, the wizard, the broadcasting messiah, might I say, OBS Jim. What's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How's your day going today?
My day is okay. I got a little bit of work done, so I'm pretty happy.
Are we going to...
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Are we going to announce how I might have accidentally woken you up from your nighttime slumber?
No, you didn't wake me up. No, that wasn't you. Trust me. that was a complete coincidence. I promise you.
Okay.
It was like 2 minutes too.
So
yeah.
Did you have an alarm set for that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I was worried I wasn't going to be able to get to sleep or something, but I slept perfectly fine.
Okay. I sent him a message today, just kind of confirming some details. And the first message I get back is, "Oh, you got me right before I was about to wake up." I'm like, wait, is he still asleep? But he is like transcending these messages from his brain to his phone. Good times. Well, I'm glad I didn't wake you.
No, you didn't.
All right.
It was just a funny coincidence.
Indeed. So during the show, if any of you guys would like to submit a question for us to answer at the end of the podcast, you can use the !Q command in chat followed by your question, and the bot will grab those and throw those in the Q&A at the end of the show. If we're not live and you'd like to ask a question or submit any kind of feedback at all, feel free to shoot me an email at crocs@knackers.com. And lastly, if you enjoyed the podcast and you would like to support the show without spending any money at all, please consider leaving a review for the show on iTunes. So first, most important question, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm having some Mike's Hard Lemonade, man. That's the only thing I like. I am not much of a drinker. I don't like to drink normally. So
the fact
I'm making an exception though for you.
I appreciate it. When people say, I don't usually drink. However, I'll have beer with you. That makes me feel good. But when people do tell me that, there's always like a thought in my head, like, wait, are they 17 years sober? And then my peer pressure brought them back into the dark.
No. Fortunately not.
Okay. All right, good. What flavor? This is even more important.
Just regular. I tried the strawberry, but it was like awful. It was so bad. So I was like, oh.
Taste.
So I just went back to the regular.
Was it too sugary? Did it not have a good taste whatsoever?
It just it was awful. I'm pretty picky in general, so it's hard to make me satisfied. So yeah, I don't really like alcohol in general. I don't know how people drink beers, like enjoy beer. It's like, what are you doing, man? This isn't like a drink. I want to drink. Give me a Dr. Pepper.
Oh, I do love good Dr. Pepper. So you know how when you eat enough things, you'll eventually get used to it and you can palate it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, sorry, the first time I was drank when I was 15 or 16. Let's face it, we all do.
Right.
Yeah, with my best friend's uncle would give us natural ice. It's the heaviest beer you can get.
Right. Yeah. Real hoppy.
And it's and it was awful. And I eventually got used to it. Right. And so it's I've been drunk plenty of times, but I just don't enjoy it. It's I don't really care too much.
That is exactly how I feel about smoking weed. It does not put me in a great place whatsoever, and I can't enjoy it.
Yeah, I did that too when I was young and foolish. But I mean, it's yeah, I tried it semi recently again because it became legal, and it's just I had major I had a panic attack or something. That was not good. So I just I'm just keeping clean, man. I don't really enjoy any sort of mind altering stuff except for maybe coffee, but then that ruined me earlier this year. I'm pretty sure.
Really?
I got yeah. I bought, what I did was I bought a coffee maker off of Amazon because I was enjoying this shitty instant coffee that my dad usually buys, and I decided just to try good coffee, but it turns out it was really strong, I think. And it's I had multiple cups of it, and it's after the first few days I had serious heart palpitations, and I went to the emergency room twice, and it affected me for it's affected me ever since. It's I thought like I had a heart attack or something. So it's like
Jesus, did you buy
I'm
like
almost
Death
totally
Wish?
positive. No, I swear it was like normal stuff. I don't remember what kind of stuff, but I mean, I was sure it was like normal stuff. Maybe I used like the wrong like amount or something. I'm not sure. I gave it to my sister after, and she was like, "Oh wow, this stuff is strong." I'm like, "Is it really?"
Oh no.
Explains everything.
Oh
Yeah,
my Lord. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Be careful with coffee, man.
For
Be
real.
careful with
So
caffeine.
I've told this story to my community before, but one of the, I think it's like one of the first times I smoked. My dad, my friends, we were at my friend's house. My friend's dad was leaving the house for like half hour, 45 minutes to go grocery shopping. And our genius 18-year-old minds thought, okay, let's get high really fast and enjoy it. And then he'll come home and we'll be fine. So
What, did one of your friends have it or something?
yeah, he just had it laying around. He was like my dealer. He never sold anything to me, but he was always the guy that had the stuff.
Yeah.
And so 2, 3, 4 one-hitters, and then within 10 minutes, full on panic attack, freaking out. He had a bathroom on one end of his house or in his room and an alarm clock on the other end. And I just paced back and forth, just kind of like waving my hands around. And then,
Yeah, that's what you do.
yep.
Yeah.
And then I ended up in the shower in the fetal position crying for, I don't know, 45 minutes, half hour, 45 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
It was
man.
so ever since then, and same as you, that has changed me. Like I have never been the same since then. Because when you're in that state of mind, you start thinking about some wacky shit your sober self is not possible of thinking up, and fucks you up, man.
Yeah, that was yeah, that's sort of what happened to me recently. I was just like pacing back and forth. I was like, okay, this is not good. I was like, I regret this. I shouldn't have done this. I knew I shouldn't have done this. It was a mistake.
It's-
And then I like started taking apart my computer and putting it back together and things. And like,
No. I don't mean to laugh, but like that would be something that like a techie would do. Like, oh God, what do I do with my time now? Take apart a computer.
yeah, I had some extra parts, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna work on something. And I was like, I I had like a part that I had been intending to put in my computer, so I'd like started working on my computer, and it's like, I felt better later, and it's like, it wasn't that bad. So
That feeling of noticing your heart rate. And
yeah, it's scary, especially after like I already had that issue earlier this year. That was awful. So it's like to bring back memory of that is like holy crap. So yeah, that just thinking about that can bring you back into like a panic attack. It's kind of funny because the panic attack itself can bring back those feelings, and you're like not sure if like you're having like that same issue you had earlier the year, or it's like you're having a panic attack,
Right.
actual panic attack. It's like, so it's like it kind of like feedback loops itself. And you freak out, and you're like, oh my god. So yeah,
it's not
just-
great.
yeah, I'm just gonna never do anything ever again.
Except Mike's Hard is the best friend.
Mike's hard, yes. Only 2,
Have-
not more than 2.
Have you ever watched Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
I probably have, but I can't remember.
Okay. There's one episode, I believe it's Jason Sudeikis, where he's like their super party friend from back in the day. And every time he comes back into town, they party like crazy, but they only see him like every once in a while. And that can be your Mike's Hard. It's like every once in a while we can throw down, but then it's just a reminder of what can happen. And yeah, I had a really, really weird issue a couple months back. I went to the doctor maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. Whenever I was trying to fall asleep, it was almost like I was falling asleep into a dream state, but I was fully awake, and I would get a heart palpitation, and then it would like jerk me out of sleep. And
That's scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sort of what like I felt like. Yeah, those heart palpitations are like so awful.
yeah, they're really bad. It ended up being a like acid reflux issue, like
Are
something
you serious?
it ended up being something with my stomach, and yeah, just acid reflux of like
Why
my
does that? Yeah, why does that cause heart palpitations though? That's the weird thing.
no
It's like-
idea. I think it also could have been I mean, I don't really know, because like I've never gone to the doctor regarding anything like depression, anxiety, panic attack wise. Those could have been like self-induced because I didn't know what was going on. Like I could have been freaking out way more than I needed to be. But yeah, that would just cause me to kind of like wake up and then my mind would just start racing. And yeah, and then I went to the doctor. I got a bunch of acid reflux medication and antibiotics, and then it never happened again.
Acid reflux
Right.
causes heart palpitations.
Yeah. And apparently it can really fuck you up because Summit 1G has been having issues with acid reflux lately. And he was knocked out of streaming for a couple weeks, and he hasn't really, not mentally been the same, but like health wise hasn't been the same for the past couple months. I'd say it's been a rough time for him.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
All right, so I kind of want to get into, normally this is going to be a little bit different of an episode. So normally I had a bunch of these like cookie cutter questions that I would ask, like Apple or iPhone, pineapple on pizza or not. But I'm trying to get out of that repetitive state and trying to do other things. And so I just kind of want to roll into kind of just some general questions that I have, and they might end up being questions that other people have. So the first thing I want to know is kind of, who are you? What are you about? And where are you from? And you don't have to go into city specific details, but if you want to say like whatever part of the country, it's totally up to you.
No, it's fine. I'm in California. I grew up in California. I don't even know if I spent most of my life in California at this point, but I'm pretty much a California dude, and I've always been a California dude. And so I also spent time in like New Mexico, spent time in South Carolina, spent time in Texas, spent time in where else? Probably somewhere else, but
holy hell.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, it's like, it was only like 12 years or so. So it's like not that big of a deal.
Okay.
The rest of the time was like California.
So
I'm 36 for just to give you an idea.
Okay.
So it's like, it's a fair amount of my life I was outside of California.
Okay.
But it's like, who am I? I'm just a dude. I don't know. Like, I've been, in reference to like OBS or OBS, as I like to call it.
OBS? That's a thing?
Yeah, well, I mean, Wizard of OBS is my Twitter handle. It's like, that's what it was originally.
Oh,
that's
my
originally
God.
How I pronounced it, man. No, it's fine. It's fine. I got used to it. It's like everybody called it OBS. I was like, oh.
My mind is blown. What the? I never thought of that. I don't know why.
It's because I started like in the StarCraft days, and like they would call the like observer unit, an OBS. I was like, oh my God, I should just call it OBS because it's like you're observing and stuff. And it's like, it was also an abbreviation for Open Broadcaster Software. So it's like, it worked. So that was like my idea, but it's like, it didn't end up working out. Everybody just said OBS. I guess it's because it's in like capital words or something. Most people sort of associate that with like saying the specific letters. But
right. And at least you didn't end up with slobs.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what I'm gonna have to call it from now on. I'm just, whenever people ask me, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, you just go into your OBS settings, and everyone's gonna be like, what the shit are you talking about? What is
It doesn't matter. I don't care. I promise I don't care. I call it OBS these days just so I don't confuse people either.
Did you come up with Open Broadcast Software first, or did you come up with OBS first?
At first, I called it, there was XSplit at the time. It was like 2012 or something like that. And I was like, there was XSplit. So first, I called it Jim Split. Okay. Yeah.
Please tell me you took pictures of yourself for a logo for that, because
I didn't have a logo. It's just that's how I started. Jim Split. And then I was like, maybe I should just call it Open Split. And I was like, oh no, I don't really like copying, XSplit, because it's like, because I was adamant about like not using any other programs at the time. I was like, I've never actually used it, so I mean, I can't really say that anyway. So it's like, that would be kind of rude. So I was like, okay, I'll just call it Open Broadcaster Software, I guess. And it's like, I just came up with that. I was like, oh, that'd be cool.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Did you always have the vision of it being kind of open source and kind of crowd developed? Was that always something you saw it as being, or is that something that kind of developed along the way?
No, I mean, that was obviously like my intention originally, but it's like when you first get into open source, you think you're to yourself like, okay, I'm gonna make it open source. I'm gonna have everybody help me, and everybody's gonna like, and I can just like have everybody, you know, we can all do it together. You know, we can all work together. You know, like dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria, and it's like it turned out to be mass hysteria because it just wasn't true.
Okay.
And so it's like I ended up doing most of the work myself, most of it. I do have like it. The problem primarily comes down to like it's C and C++ languages, and it's like it's really not very many people program in C and C++, and it's like I got a lot of, you know, sort of junior developers and things like that who are still contributing to this day, and you know, it's like a lot of people who aren't like fully experienced with C++, and then you get like a few like real good gems like do come along occasionally, but uh, it's like yeah, it's just hard to like get somebody with like experience. There's also the problem with like you need experience in like graphics programming, and you need experience in um like encoding related stuff, and it's like it's hard to find people who have like all the required fields of experience. And yeah, so it ended up being like mostly me just for a while. Recently it's been a lot less me, but it's been like but it's still like predominantly just me, just because it's like it's become kind of a really big program. It's like a few 100,000 lines at this point, so it's like it's kind of ridiculous, and
Oh,
it's like people have to take their time to learn it, you know, to be able to learn the subsystems and things like that, how everything works. And it's like you can't really jump into it right away, and it's like and to top that off, you know, there's the required like experience. So it's like a handful of people, you know, who are like somewhat acquainted and, you know, do stuff. But it's like there's a few people who can like go into the back end, like program like a new like audio subsystem or something like that. And there's very few people who are like capable of doing that, if that makes sense. So it's like my vision of everybody working together, you know, making it all together didn't quite pan out. And then there's also the matter of companies who, you know, companies don't like to wait for open source, you know, if recent developments have indicated. And you know, so it's like people don't really people just want to do their own thing and don't really always want to work together. But it's like for my guys, it's like we have the best community I could have ever imagined. So I don't regret it at all. You know, it's the probably the best, most amazing thing that's ever happened to me, especially considering I didn't have a job before, you know, OBS. So it's like that was a nice thing. You know, the first time I got like $50, I was like, oh my God, I actually have money in my bank account. Yeah, man. It's like I was like, people are actually sending me money. First person I think who sent me a donation was my dear beloved friend Dodgeball,
in
who was
chat,
in the chat.
Dodge?
Yeah, yeah. He was the
Oh,
first person. One of the
wow.
most amazing individuals I've ever met.
Oh, that is a shout out. Okay. So let's rewind a little bit. I kind of want to I personally selfishly want to know about kind of the start of OBS, where I mean like the idea of like how it came up. Was there something that happened that made you just kind of wield this program into existence? I mean, feel free to take me all the way back to your first coding class in elementary school. Like, how did all this start?
Well, I mean, I had been like a game programmer. Well, I mean, it's like it's my life story is just kind of weird, but I mean, it's like
We love
for
weird.
OBS itself, I was just like I didn't have anything to do, so I was just like, ah, man, I suppose I might have to go back. Like when I was 18 years old, I moved out of the house with my dad. My dad took me like around the country and things like that. We didn't really have anywhere to go, and I'd just been living with him, living kind of off of him. I didn't have like college education or anything like that. I'd been programming ever since, but I was a really good programmer. Well, I mean, I wasn't a really good programmer. I was just like a programmer. I had been programming ever since I was like 8 years old. It was like
Whoa.
1990. So it's like the first program I ever wrote was like a Q basic program, and like it was like a little tiny little card game. It was just didn't even work properly, you know, things like that. then like in the 90s, early 90s, I moved on to like Turbo Pascal, you know, these ancient ass languages.
Yeah, I've never
I
heard of
really
that one.
yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed that one. And then, you know, the whole C and C++, the C++ revolution happened, and, you know, everybody started using C++, moved on to that, you know, and yeah, I moved out. Let's see, I moved out, and then didn't have like any. I only had one job before OBS. It was like when I was 18, my brother hooked me up with a job at his like. It was like a what was it? It was a website that sold copy machines.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Like big
Yeah.
ass copy machines?
Yeah, like those big ass ancient ass copy machines.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I did like web development as my first job back in the like late 90s and maybe 2000 early 2000s.
Okay.
And it's like I eventually quit that and just like moved with my dad again, and you know, I had a hard time getting like any jobs just because I had like no college experience and no real experience with anything except for like web development, and I didn't like web development because I was more of like a C++ programmer.
Okay.
And I just like, you know, my dad, you know, enjoyed having me as company, so you know, I just, you know, it was kind of a bad situation actually, because you know, he shouldn't have done that. He should have like kicked me out, in my humble opinion. My dad is not the best. He's like one of the best friends that you could ever ask for, but he's like one of the most irresponsible people and a terrible parent. But you know, you sort of love him anyway.
Right, because you
It's like
sort of
no parent is good, right?
right, because nobody knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's like nobody reads a book whenever they become a parent. It's like how to become a proper parent. It's like you're supposed to raise a functioning adult. It's like nobody thinks of that. They're like, oh, if I just love them, you know, everything will be fine. It's like,
You shit, I clean. Easy.
Yeah, and so the most I had ever had in like my bank account before OBS was like maybe $15,000. It's like crazy.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was like, but that was like an inheritance from my grandfather, right?
Okay.
So yeah,
The amount of I would love to take a tally of all the people that are my age and what's like the most amount of money that they've had in their bank account. It's probably a quarter of that on the high
yeah,
side.
probably. Yeah, I don't like to hear that sort of stuff. I mean, yeah, that's awful. I would hope that that's not the case, because that's like when you put it in the relative terms, it's just like nothing. It's like, how do people live like that? Like, so it's awful, man. Nobody should have to live like that.
I would say the most that I've ever had in my bank account at one time, and this is probably with like the sale of something, maybe something like selling an old car or something, probably, yeah, like $4,000 or $5,000, the most at one time. And I'm not floored by student loans or anything. It's definitely my irresponsibility with money. Like, I'm not about to like pawn it off on like, oh, I'm a millennial and my life was set up horribly. If I was smart and I didn't spend money on computers and mounts and Nintendo Switches, I could probably save some money.
Jesus Christ, man.
Right.
Like, are you serious? Like $4,000, or you're joking?
No, like saved in one account at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, and I don't necessarily want to blame it on this, but by the time I was 20, no, I'm sorry. By the time I was, 20, I had already spent $20,000 on vehicles. I had already been through 4 cars.
Oh man, vehicles are like the worst. Like, have like be like a vehicle collector or a vehicle lover. That has to be like the worst. Oh my god.
Like, what's worse, that or having a boat, like a working boat?
Oh my god, man.
Yeah. So, yeah. No.
Like
I honestly can't think of a time that I had more than that.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's nowadays, like, I don't live past my means whatsoever. I've got a 6-year-old car. I'm in I want to say this house, I don't know the exact number. It's anywhere in between 750 and 900 feet square foot house. Very small house. And but yeah, I just even just with bills
But it
and
is like a house you bought, right?
no, I'm renting.
Oh, you're renting. Oh my God.
I sort of kind of refuse to buy a house right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, if what you're saying is true, you definitely don't want to buy it right now.
No, I'm in
Oh
no
my
I'm
God.
in no way
Yeah.
ready. The main reason is because I know that I don't want to live in Michigan for the next 20 or 30 years.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
waiting until I end up in a city or state that I desire before I just indebt myself to that, that area.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I feel the same way.
Yeah, but hey, yeah, I mean I things that I've always talked about with other people regarding like growing up in high school is I felt like there should have been way more classes regarding real life stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like so many adults don't have like a proper financial education. It kind of
Mm-mm.
blows my mind that nobody's telling kids like you need to live well below your means, otherwise, something bad could happen, and then you could be in a lot of trouble. It's like I had that health issue earlier this year, and like if I fortunately I had insurance, but if I didn't have insurance, it would have been like in the tens of thousands of dollars, and because it was like it was still like a $6,000 insurance bill, like just to go to the hospital twice. I'm not kidding. Even though I had insurance, it's like I had to do the copay and like the whatever it's called, and it's like still $6,000 just to go to the hospital twice. Down here, and maybe it's just like more expensive down here, but I mean it's just like no, it can't be more expensive down here. I don't know what happened, but that was like a ridiculous bill, and that just like scared the hell out of me. So yeah, you definitely want to live like well below your means and have like something in your savings. I feel like that needs to be like a class, financial education,
Right.
and people need to know. It's just like Jesus Christ.
So just recently, I was starting to get to the point where I had decent savings. I had $3,000 in savings, and then I lost my job, and I filed for
Oh
unemployment.
wow.
I was unemployed for 3 months total, and I was eligible for unemployment for 11 of those weeks, and I did not get a single check while I was unemployed. I ended up getting $600 from unemployment a month and a half after I had gotten employed, which was very odd. I just got a random email one day. It's like, hey, you have an unemployment correspondence waiting for you. I went and checked it, and they okayed $600 worth. But yeah, 3 months of no income drained that savings, and that was being so strict on what I spent. That was canceling every monthly subscription I had, and it's still like $3,000 just like that gone.
Yeah.
Teach us your ways.
Wow, man. Yeah.
Money's
That's
fun.
just money's fun. Yeah, gotta love money. And yeah, I'm just like so now every time I make money these days, I'm just like so scared to spend it. It's like I did end up, spending a little bit of money once I started making money, but it's just like I'm just so afraid. It's like I don't want that to happen to me ever again.
It's a $6,000 bill. What's the repayment time on a hospital bill?
What's the repayment? I actually don't know. I just like
Is it like net
paid it
30
whenever they sent it
terms?
in. I don't know. I actually didn't read that. It's just like I got the multiple bills from like my hospital and my doctor and everything like that, and I just paid them when I got them. It was just kind of depressing because it's like that's the state of health insurance or a state of healthcare in the United States right now.
It's
Yeah.
yeah.
It's like a significant portion of like, it's like your money's your life force too. And it's like you have to kind of view your money as your life force. And anytime you spend money, you're like cutting out a little bit out of your life force. If if you look at it that way, like here's how I look at it. Let's say you have like a ridiculous amount of money in your bank account. Let's say you have like $100,000, right, in your bank account or something like that. If you spend $1,000, that's like 1% of your life force. That's how I like view it whenever you're thinking about like spending money.
right.
So that's how I view things. It's like, okay, if I lose my job like next year, if or my contracts aren't renewed or anything like that, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have only this. So if it's like you're so afraid to spend money, and you view it that way. You have to view it that way. I feel like we do need like better financial education in the United States. We need a lot of things in the United States. Let's face it.
Let's be real.
We're a
Yeah.
fucking wreck.
I had this conversation on stream a couple weeks ago, and I was saying I wish they would have treated like financial education like they did STDs. You know, like
yeah, I know.
if
It's
you
like they're so
if you get
concerned
a
about
credit
like
card,
sex.
you will get pregnant and you will die. And that was like taxes. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I got my first job, I had a paying under the table job while I was in high school. And when I first got out of high school, I got my first job. And I remember filling out the tax forms and going, I don't know what any of this shit is. None of this makes, do I claim 1? Do I claim 0? Do I have any dependents? None of that shit made sense. And that's something that should have been drilled into us before Calculus 3.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like in the United States, if you didn't know this, we actually have like the tax companies, the companies that like make money, like TurboTax, like those companies, they actually send out like lobbyists to the government to ensure that we have like complicated taxes too. I'm serious. They make it so that it's like we don't simplify our taxes, we keep it complicated, and you know they try to like. It's just our lives, our tax system is a nightmare. Our health care system is a nightmare. Our education system is a nightmare, and it's like, oh my god.
But
and then like you hear about like other countries like Germany or Sweden. I don't know about Germany. Maybe it's Sweden or maybe it's Norway. I actually don't know. There are a few of those countries like out in the European Union that are like they automatically do your taxes for you, and it's like all you have to do is like send them a check, and it's like they say pay us this much, and it's like send them a check. That's all you have to do. You don't have to like fill out gigantic tax forms, and you know.
But TurboTax is so easy. Hashtag sponsored.
Yeah, that's what they want, man. It makes their money.
Oh God.
They want to be that middleman.
Yeah, and it's got to be somebody, right? Is that maybe conspiracy? They don't teach us about how to do our taxes, so that we have to pay somebody to do our taxes.
You never know. Maybe. I don't know, man.
Oh God.
There's been weirder conspiracies that have actually been true, I'm pretty sure.
Yes indeed. I have no idea how we ended up here.
I don't know either, man. This is what a podcast is all about. We just like talk about whatever we want. It's like we go off on tangents. That's what you're supposed to do. But you were asking me about my life, right? So it's like, how did I get to this point? how did I get to this point? Oh, it's a good question. It's like, okay, so let me go back. I was living with my dad for like from like 1999 or 1998 until well, he even lives with me now, but it's more like he lives with me. But we've been living together like this whole time for like I don't know, the last what was it? Almost 20 years, like 18 or 19 years now.
Wow.
And it's like back in 2012, right? So actually I should go let me go back a little bit more again.
Keep going.
yeah. Okay. And back to like early 2000s. It's like maybe 2000, 2001. I started working on like game stuff because I love games. You know, everybody loves games. And you're like, when you're like a programmer, you know, you're like, oh, I want to do game stuff, you know, because you're ignorant and, you know, you're like thinking that you could do anything you want.
I'm going to play video games for a living.
The people do that now.
Yeah.
But I mean, so like I started working on game stuff and I started making my own game engine, like, and I learned a lot from like the Unreal Engine, because I really loved the Unreal Engine back in the day with Unreal Script, and you know they had all this cool stuff like that. It was like easy to mod, and it's like it was still like the cool engine even back in the day, like game engine. And it's like they released their headers and stuff, so I was able to like look at their headers and learn like from what they did, you know. And I learned how to like make my own engine, you know. So if you go on like my github.com/jp9000, you'll see Jim engine, and that's the engine I worked on from like year 2000 to like 2010-ish, maybe almost 11-ish.
Holy crap.
So Yeah. I worked on that for so long. It actually has so many features. It even has like built-in light mapping, with radiosity and like ambient occlusion. Did it have ambient occlusion? I think it did have ambient occlusion. Yeah. And it's like has so many cool features like that. And it's like I just had like nothing to do, right? I was unemployed, living with my dad like an idiot. I was just irresponsible adult, you know. So I just had all this experience, working with like graphics tech, and every time a new graphics card when it would come out, I'd have to like figure out a way to get one, and just because they had the new tech, and I always wanted to be able to like mess with like shaders and stuff like on the video cards. I remember when Doom came out, like I was like, oh my god, I want to do that too. And it's like I learned how to use pixel vertex shaders and pixel shaders, and they were all written in like a shader assembly back in the day. It's like you could only use like 20 instructions at once, and it's like they were so limited, but you could still do the stuff like Doom 3, like the original Doom 3. And it's like I did all that stuff, and I had so much fun, and it was just a like a learning experience. It turned out to be a really valuable learning experience. I made my own game engine, from scratch.
That's
Learned
crazy.
so much. Yeah. So it's like there was a plus side to like my terrible irresponsible situation was that I learned so much, and I ended up using that like around 2011 2012. Things were starting to get so bad. I was like, we had like my dad was getting really old. He couldn't like, he has like his social security, and it's like I didn't have a job. I was trying to get jobs. I was like looking out even like in the Midwest for jobs, so we can move there. It's like I almost moved to like South Carolina. I'm not kidding. Or not South Carolina. Yeah, South Carolina, I think.
I want to move to the
Was it
Carolinas.
South Dakota. Huh? No, not the Carolinas, the Dakotas, South Dakota, Midwest. Yeah. Carolina is not Midwest. But yeah, it's like this $40,000 a year job, out in South Carolina, like in the bum ass middle of nowhere. And that's like, didn't, I sent them my freaking resume, and it was like, I didn't include like my college education on there because I didn't have any, and it's like the first thing they fucking emailed me back was like, what's your college education? It's like, I just like, I just was, I'd been trying a few jobs, and it's like I was just like almost about to give up. I was in a bad place. Right?
And